Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Chairman. Refugee protection policy has to be based on two principles. One, whatever policies we adopt must not pose a threat to the American people. And secondly, whatever money we take from our people through taxes to devote to these purposes should yield the maximum humanitarian effect. And unfortunately, resettlement of refugees in the United States from Syria or from Yemen or Somalia or other failed states fails on both of those counts. Hillary Clinton said at the debate this weekend that the United States should spend, quote, whatever it takes, unquote, to properly screen Syrian refugees. I think everybody would agree with that, but it misses the point. The problem is not that we're devoting inadequate resources. It's certainly not that our people in DHS or FBI or state are not committed. Our people are doing the best job they can. The problem is that proper screening of people from Syria cannot be done. We are giving our people an assignment which they cannot accomplish successfully. We imagine in a modern developed country like ours that everybody in the world leaves behind them the kind of electronic traces that we do, birth certificates, driver's licenses, school records, all of those things that we kind of take for granted. But the fact is that those tracks, those traces are non-existent in much of the world, even in the best of circumstances. And in the kind of situation, the chaotic situation we have in Syria, or in Somalia, or Yemen, or Libya, or Afghanistan, what little information that might have existed is probably gone up in smoke, or at the very least is inaccessible to us. DHS Secretary Jay Johnson made that very point just last month when he said, quote, we're not going to know a lot about the individual refugees who come forward, unquote. That's true. And in fact, just this week we found more evidence of that. The French sent our intelligence agencies the fingerprints of the attackers in Paris, and there was no trace of them anywhere in our databases, the very databases that we're supposed to be using to screen the Syrian refugees. Our screening of refugees resembles, and I don't mean to be flip here, but it really does resemble the joke about the drunk who loses his keys in the park but is searching for them under the streetlight. And when asked why he's doing that, he said, well, the light's better here. The clearest statement of this came from Matthew Emmerich, nothing personal, Mr. Emmerich, who's in charge of fraud detection at USCIS. He told the Senate last month, quote, we check everything that we are aware of within U.S. government holdings, because the light's better there. The second point is efficacy. In other words, are the resources we're devoting to humanitarian protection for refugees, whether it's Syria or anywhere else, being used to the maximum effect? And, bringing refugees to our country makes us feel better. I assume Mr. Hetfield will give us some warm stories about that, and it does make us feel better. But the point of humanitarian protection of refugees is not to make us feel better. It's to assist as many people as possible with whatever resources we've decided to devote to this purpose. And what we found, we did research on this, and we found that it costs 12 times as much to resettle a refugee from Syria, from the Middle East, in the United States, as it does to provide for them in their own region. In this case, in, say, Syrian refugees in Turkey or Jordan or Lebanon, which is where most of them are. The 5-year cost we conservatively estimated of resettling a refugee from the Middle East is $64,000, compared to UN figures that indicated the 5-year cost for caring for people in the region would be about $5,300. In other words, each refugee that we bring to the United States from the Middle East means that 11 other people are not being helped with those same resources. The image I like to think about when considering this is, imagine you have 12 drowning people. What are you going to do? Do you send them a one-man yacht that's a very nice, beautiful yacht but holds only one person, or do you throw them 12 life preservers? The moral choice is obvious there, and yet what we're doing through the best of intentions is sending the one-person yacht instead of throwing them 12 life preservers.